one of the others, like, you know, the ones that everybody's talking about. Now, I'm being joined already. Hello there.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, yeah, good to see you. This is Sam North from eToro, it's great to see Sam. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
I'm also going to be joined by Hussein Badakchani from Noah.com. Now, I always, have difficulty with with IG Live because you have to invite people. So I've invited Hussein, and hopefully he's on his way. So I think we're to start off with, we'll talk with you, Sam. But I have to make sure that I'm doing this right. So I'm sending again. I think I've sent an invite. It's always the same, at the beginning of an IG Live, I'm like, have I got through to that person?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. Well, I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
I'm sure we will. Well, we've already got some lots of interesting people following us. I'm sure you'll have lots of interesting things to say and ask. And so do feel free to ask questions. I've got two great experts here, one at the moment, but the other I'm sure will be coming. So I'm going to keep inviting. I do know that I've been on IG Lives as a guest, and it's really difficult. Great to see you. Here you are. Well done. Nice to see you, Hussein.
Hello, Jasmine. Yeah, managed to make it in one piece. Apologies for the delay.
Hello, Hussein. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Sam. Delighted.
Oh, great to see you. Thank you so much. So, Hussein Badakchani, you're currently with Noah.com. You used to be with Ziglu. Explain for a moment what Noah.com does.
Sure. So Noah.com is going to be providing crypto-native neo-banking services to our customers. We're especially focused on earning, saving, spending, and paying specifically with Bitcoin and stablecoins.
Great. And then Sam North, you're from eToro. A lot of people will have heard of eToro, but give me a brief idea of what eToro does.
Yeah, we're a sort of global social investing platform, so people can invest in stocks, crypto, commodities, ETFs, smart portfolios, and our so there's a most sort of famous USP of eToro is that there's copy trading, so people can copy our popular investors, and essentially they act as like fund managers in a way, so people could take on the same investments as these amazing popular investors. And actually I've just seen in the chat we've got a couple tuning in now as well, so it's great to be at eToro. I've been here 10 months now, so really good fun.
Oh, well, I am personally a fan of your copy trading because, you, as you say, you've got some really amazing
people,
amateur investors who are doing a lot better than quite a few of the fund managers. So, my idea of investing is, let somebody else do it if you can. I mean, do your own thinking about it. But if you find somebody who's really good, copy them.
Literally, why not, right? It's incredible. Before I came to eToro, I didn't really understand the whole sort of these investors, but they're incredible. I mean, the good thing is it's so transparent, so you can see all back throughout every single year that they've been doing it. So you can see all the returns, how long they've been invested in certain markets. Some of them are just incredible. It's amazing.
Excellent. Well, we've already got some comments here. Mike Child Music is saying, afternoon. I've been trying to get my head around this crypto malarkey, but never would like to learn more. So good, Mike, you're in the right place because we're going to talk. Well, let's start with the basics. Sam, for somebody like Mike who's been wanting to get into it, not sure what to do. Maybe, Mike, maybe you're a little bit nervous. A lot of people are, understandably, about cryptocurrencies. Sam, what would your advice be? How would you explain cryptocurrencies to somebody like Mike who's really just still thinking about it? And what would you suggest he does to start off?
Yeah, I mean, I've got quite a few friends who I guess are in similar positions to Mike. They have heard about it. I think if anyone who hasn't been living under a rock has probably heard the word Bitcoin, for example. So a lot of people are certainly interested to find out a little bit more. I guess that uncertainty is what stops people investing in it. But as you said, crypto is a big subject, and I think we need to make it clear that it's quite sort of broad when describing it. So when I think of crypto, and Mike, for me, I think of it like an asset class. So that could be like stocks or commodities or FX and so on. So like in an investing standpoint. So for stocks, you've got loads of different subsectors, and that could be value stocks, growth stocks, tech stocks, and so on. With commodities, you've got hard and soft commodities, oil, gold, metals, meats, etc., etc. And with crypto, there are these currencies that, there are tokens. You've got DeFi, so these sort of subcomponents of crypto as well. You've got Web3, and this comes together to make crypto. So when we talk about, say, cryptocurrencies, then I guess we can simplify it and say it's like a digital currency. Mm-hmm. But what makes it maybe more special, shall we say, because if we say digital currency, I don't think that would get anyone too excited. But what I think is quite unique about it, it's secured by something we call cryptography, which is nearly impossible to sort of counterfeit. So that gives it that security. And also many of these digital currencies, these cryptocurrencies, are based on blockchain technology, which for me is that real sort of game changing, real exciting part in all of it. I don't know what you think, Hussein, but for me, that's the real part that excites me as an investor and as a trader. So to keep it simple, blockchain is a record of the transaction data linked together, stored publicly on these computers all around the world, can't be hacked, can't be changed. And so if I wanted to send you both, cryptocurrency now, that's essentially how it all sort of comes together.
Great. And then, Hussein, obviously it's really useful to understand what cryptocurrency is, how it works, blockchain, etc. But then we're thinking of it also as an investment. It's a way. A lot of people are seeing Bitcoin, for example, as a store of value, a bit like gold. So, what would you say to somebody who's going, I make money out of investing in cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin? Is it possible?
Yes, absolutely possible. And I think Bitcoin really, it's proven to be one of the best asset classes over its history, right? The key thing to remember, though, is trying to make money quickly when you're entering the crypto space is very dangerous. It's one of the most volatile asset classes. Mm-hmm. So be prepared for that. And I think buying and holding crypto, whichever crypto it is, tends to be proven to be the best strategy. If you're trying to get rich quick and you don't know what you're doing, it's the fastest way of losing your money.
Right. Absolutely. So would you suggest, as with honestly investing in stocks and shares, that probably the best way to do it is a little and often, regular, as they say with stocks and shares, pound cost averaging or dollar cost averaging, as they say in America, basically regular, even automated payments every month, every year, every week, even depending on what you want to do. So sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's in the middle, but it sort of averages out. Is that the best way to invest really in cryptocurrencies as well?
That's a good strategy, but we have a mantra in the crypto space, which is do your own research. Mm-hmm. Before you pick any currency, you really should spend a little bit of time researching it. Dollar cost averaging is a great strategy. It really flattens out the volatility, and if it stops you from exiting your position too quickly, then you'll probably end up doing very well out of that approach. So it's one of the tried and tested methods for hodlers, people who hold cryptocurrencies. It's one of the best strategies. Absolutely.
Good. Oh, good. That's great. Yes, I'm a hodler. I'm a buy and hold. I am with stocks and shares on the whole, buy and hold for a long time. I think it's partly between us laziness, but also because, it tends to be, certainly with stocks and shares, very much I think with crypto, that over time, the ups and downs, they sort of smooth out. So, the longer you can hodl for, really, the better it seems. We've got a question from Scooby Snacks. He says that how does cryptocurrency fluctuate in value? What makes the market forces? Sam, what would you say to that?
Yeah, well, I guess as you're saying, rightly said, you've got to do your own research on each sort of coin you're getting in or token you're getting into. So it will have its own, I guess, fundamentals as well, whether that be different updates that happens, but also crypto as a whole is, I guess right now it's still a risk asset. So it's still highly correlated to, say, the NASDAQ or the S&P 500. So similar news events can drive price. So that could be interest rate decisions that we've seen at the moment. It could be geopolitical risk, right? So if there's perceived to be these risks in the market, those riskier assets are going to come under pressure. If the world is deemed to be coming out of that, then you'd potentially like to see crypto rise higher in correlation with, say, equity markets as well. Also, I guess for anyone investing, trading in crypto, you need to be following Elon Musk on Twitter too. It takes one tweet from him and the price of whatever it might be will sort of fluctuate. But I guess from an investing standpoint, like we've sort of mentioned, that sort of dollar cost averaging, pound cost averaging, you sort of can take away that volatility, which is definitely there. It's incredibly volatile asset class. If, you know, say someone's coming from only investing in, say, bonds, for example, you know, bonds may move very small percentages a year, where crypto could move, you know, double digits per day. So yeah, many things that can move it, you know, its own sort of fundamentals, and then obviously sort of, you know, from a sort of monetary policy standpoint, and also all kinds of headlines too.
I think one of the fundamental things to remember is that the asset class is in its nascency at the moment. The total market cap for crypto is right now is hovering at around $2 trillion. Now compare that with just gold, is 10 trillion. Comparing with equities, it's about 100 trillion, let's say. That means that a small amount of money entering the market can have a big impact on the price. And conversely, a small amount of money leaving the market can have a big impact on price as well.
But you and I were talking about this yesterday, Hussein, and the weirdness to me, honestly, of the fact that it seems, certainly in the recent year or so, that crypto goes up and down with stock market, and that doesn't make any sense to me, because I would have thought that it was other, frankly, geopolitical aspects that would affect crypto. You know, I mean, you know, Russia conflict. I would have, and basically the devaluation of fiat currency, pounds and dollars, etc. I would have thought that would push people, but no, it does seem to be weirdly connected to the stock market. Any reason?
It's not weird, and as Sam said, it's considered, especially by institutions, which are the large money movers, to be a risk on asset. So as we have a small market capitalization, the institutions are the larger money players. They consider it to be risk on. So if they want to take risk off the table, it has a big impact on the price. And that's why it correlates with equities, because most institutional investors consider equities to be risk on asset class as well.
Yeah, and just to follow on that, you do have some people that, I guess, want Bitcoin to become a safe haven, but I would say tread carefully with that from an investing standpoint, because if it was to become, you know, that real sort of flight to quality, I feel actually that would actually reduce the potential it has. You've seen over the last few years with equities that have just gone higher and higher and higher for the last 10 years as risk assets. Well, isn't that kind of what people would want with crypto? I guess that's a conversation for another day, but yeah, definitely interesting.
It is interesting. So what you're saying is that there's actually a lot of institutional money, so funds, pension fund, all sorts of stuff is now in the crypto market. It's not just, you know, you and I on our laptops going, oh, I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Private capital from institutions and family offices, for example, that has a big impact. Also the whales as well. Let's not forget about them.
Also the what, sorry?
The whales.
Oh, yes.
Individuals with, like, the billionaires, let's say. Right,
the billionaires. There are a few of those from way back, aren't there? People who invested right from the start, and they are now whales. They own big lumps of Bitcoin.
And the wonderful thing about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is that the ledger is publicly available. So it's pseudonymous, so you don't see exactly who's moving what. But you can see the flow of capital pretty much instantly from different addresses. And there's plenty of people that watch the flow of capital. And essentially a whale is someone who's moving a large amount of coins onto or off from exchanges.
And am I right in thinking that a lot of the whales, I mean, there aren't loads of them, but, you know, those that exist have pretty much kept Bitcoin all the way along. They on the whole, they haven't sold.
Yeah, I mean, how jealous am I of them, by the way?
I know, it's sickening, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, Sam, a question for you. I don't know if you can answer it, but I understand right now the amount of Bitcoin that's being held on exchanges is at a bit of a low, which is interesting because that suggests that the whales are taking custody of their Bitcoin, which normally has upward pressure on the price. I don't know if you've seen.
Yeah, no, I have, absolutely. I was actually, funny enough, looking at that Wednesday, so 2 days ago, and like you said, it's sort of historical sort of lows, and there's quite a few like contrarian indicators similar to that for global markets, right? You've seen sentiment at 2020 low levels, and it's almost like when everyone's bearish on a market, actually that's maybe the time to be positive because there's less people to convince to be bearish. So, I think, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I'm very much a contrarian investor. So as soon as it goes down, I'm like, oh, I should do it nice and cheap, with anything, frankly.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I think you're starting to see that in markets right now. We're getting to levels where there's almost no one else to convince that these markets can keep going lower and lower and lower. So that historically has been a good time to buy. I'm not saying it never goes lower from right now in this conversation, of course not. But like you said, with the exchange lows, it's usually seen as a positive for price to come.
You've made an interesting point there about the whales and maybe the smaller whales, the dolphins, taking out some of their coin and keeping it elsewhere. Because if we can go back to the basics of investing in cryptocurrency, there are a few different ways to invest and then hold your currency, aren't there? So, Hussein, can you just talk us through the basics? How do you actually physically buy? So let's say just Bitcoin. How do you physically buy Bitcoin, and where do you keep it? Because you don't keep it in your purse.
Okay, so cryptocurrencies are held in wallets. Let's start with that. And there's a spectrum of wallets. On one end is custodial, and the other end is self-custodial. In between is non-custodial. Mm-hmm. So typically you would need a wallet, and the wallet could be provided by an exchange like eToro or Coinbase, or Noah provide a non-custodial wallet as well. Mm-hmm. And that would exchange fiat currency, let's say sterling, that will give you the ability to fund your account using a web application that has a digital wallet embedded in it. You can fund your account and then proceed to exchange to your sterling for Bitcoin. Now, a custodial wallet like the one that Ziglu has means that they are in custody of your digital assets. So they hold on your behalf your Bitcoin. And that has a lot of advantages in terms of making the whole experience simpler of purchasing the assets, and also comes with some degree, for some people, they consider it to be more secure. It's to a large extent, it's kind of your personal circumstances. There's another extreme, which is self-custody. And you may have heard a couple of phrases in the crypto sphere, which is not your keys, not your coins.
Right.
That pertains to self-custody. So your wallet has some keys, a pair of keys, a private key and a public key. The public key is used for the transfer.
They're like a long password, very, very complicated password that you could remember.
It's a very long number that is condensed to a shorter long number, which is in hexadecimal format normally. But a self-custodial wallet puts the onus on you to protect your private keys, because if your private keys are compromised, someone else can take custody of your assets. They can basically rob you. Actually, it's not even robbing you. It's a case of, they've got access by right, by default, de facto, because they're holding the key.
Yeah.
So custodial wallets for beginners are a very good place to start. As you learn more about individual sovereignty and cryptocurrencies, and the greater the assets that you hold, the value of those assets that you hold, you should probably start to consider non-custodial and self-custody solutions as well.
And that means a sort of like a USB stick type thing. They call it a cold wallet, don't they? So you stick it into your computer. You put the long password in, and then you can transfer your coins into your wallet. And just to be clear, a wallet is not a leather thing, that you've got any notes on. It's it's a digital thing. It's a USB stick or on a website like eToro. That so I often talk about the pros and cons of those, and it depends. I think, as you say, to start off with, use a website, use a wallet, a digital wallet on that website, and then later on, when you've got more, stick it onto a USB stick type thing that you can get online. And Sam, what do you think for a beginner? What do you think are the best coins to get? Should you just go for Bitcoin, or maybe just Bitcoin and Ethereum? What do you think people should start off with?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and I've had that many times from friends. And I think my view with anything from an investing standpoint is to be pretty well diversified. But with that said, there's no harm in being more heavily weighted to one direction. So that main crypto, I guess in this case, as everyone will probably be shouting out right now, is going to be Bitcoin. It's the OG, it's the beginner. It's I believe in years to come, it's still sort of going to be there as the main crypto coin. You're seeing some countries that are sort of recognizing it as legal tender, like El Salvador. I think Argentina are on the way there. Yeah. A relatively sort of simple way that individuals might want to look at sort of coins to go in could be to look at that sort of top 10 market cap. So these are ones that have clearly done very well. They've got a lot of money in them already. So there must be a reason for that. Of course, do your own research. Which areas of the crypto sphere do you think are going to perform well? Okay, that could be a place for me to start. But for some, from a sort of personal point of view, it might be, Bitcoin, Ethereum are number 1 and 2. They're number 1 and 2 for a reason. I might as well say on eToro, what's quite useful, and I know some people do this, they've got these they're called smart portfolios. So essentially the heavy lifting is done for you, and it's a portfolio created by the eToro sort of traders, and it's weighted, different crypto assets, highly more weighted. So you've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. And there might be 10, 15 that are already in there. So essentially you've already got that diversification rather than having to go and say, I'm going to buy 10, 15 crypto assets. But yeah, for those that want to start, I think that's not a bad way to potentially get your toes wet.
Because they are all, there are, I would say, a number of very different coins that do very different things, it seems to me. I was talking just recently to Jennifer Arcuri, who's hugely into XRP, promotes that as absolutely the way to go. XRP, as you know, was created by the company Ripple. But then you've got the stable coins, you've got the private coins. Do you have any sense, Hoss, about which area is going to be the way forward? I'm asking you to get your crystal ball here out.
Well, I actually think so. I want to correct you on XRP. Ripple don't own XRP. XRP is a decentralized cryptocurrency. If Ripple owned it, it wouldn't be decentralized and it wouldn't be a cryptocurrency.
Okay.
I'm actually a big fan of XRP, and the reason for that is because, to the point that Sam made around utility, XRP specializes in cross-border payments, which is an 80 trillion size market. So if you have a technological solution that makes cross-border payments less frictionful, more frictionless, makes them cheaper, makes them faster, that's a hell of a use case. The problem with XRP is that the SEC, which is the Securities and Commission in the US, is actually there's a court case that's been running now for kind of almost 2 years, I think. Yeah. So what I like about XRP is that it's an asymmetric bet, but it's very, very risky. Again, to Sam's point, start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is here, it's established, it's going to be legal tender in a number of countries, and it's a safe bet and a store of value with a high potential for continued growth over the long term. Depending on your risk appetite, you would want to consider the higher your risk appetite, the lower the market cap of the coin. So again, the top 10 are probably very good for moderate appetites or moderate to low appetites for risk. But if you've got really high risk appetite, you might want to go for something that is a lower market cap with a higher potential for growth. But personally, I'm a fan of XRP as well.
But you'd really need to know what you were doing if you were going for the lower cap, because there are so many dodgy coins. I mean, Dogecoin, for example, that one that Elon Musk, we've already mentioned Mr. Elon, you know, the one that he was promoting. It was insane, and there was nothing there. So, I mean, that let's be honest, there's a lot of rubbish in the crypto space.
Yeah, I mean, I said this I say this a lot. I think the way I see crypto at the moment is almost like how potentially people would have seen tech stocks in 1999, 2000. And, you know, Amazon dropped 90%, I think, in either 99 or 2000, then rallied tens and hundreds of thousands of percent since then. I think if we fast forward and we get Hussein's crystal ball out and we fast forward 10, 15 years time, you're going to have your Bitcoins, your Ethereums, your Ripples and so on that are going to still be here. But your Dogecoins and etc. are unlikely to be. And there are going to be a lot of them that fall by the wayside. So, look, if you have got that, you know, risk tolerance where you're happy to, you know, take more of a risk, you're younger, you have less bills to pay, you know, mortgage, whatever, then yeah, for sure, I can understand why people go into Shiba and Dogecoin to try and make a quick buck, because they've also got to understand they're happy to lose that money, which might be the case. Whereas if I was, you know, 70 years old, am I going to put all my money into Dogecoin? Absolutely not. But yeah, I think in 10, 15 years time, you're really going to have the top performing crypto assets that have made it through. And then there will be many that, yeah, fall away. Yeah,
GMT's just said, how about Shiba?
Well, I mean, listen, I still have an investment in Shiba, but I got in to sort of, you know, ride the hype. And listen, in my sort of stock investment, I still will have punts, and it'll be very, very sort of low risk for me. So it'd be like not even 1% of my portfolio, but the reward is there, right? If it really, really pushes on, and I'm happy to take that risk. So I got into Shiba quite a while ago. I took some profit on one of the spikes, so it's now completely risk-free. And I think that's a good way to go about it, whether that be on any investment, right? If you have made a decent return, you can make it risk-free, put it to one side, and whatever will be now. What can happen with Shiba, who knows? I know they're looking to go into the metaverse, and maybe, look, they can pull something out of the bag. Is it something I bet my life on? No.
No, absolutely. Hussein, you must have come across some really out there crazy coins that people would come up with that are clearly bogus. Are there any that stick in your mind?
I mean, in terms of scams, there are two legendary ones, right? There's OneCoin, which that was just, it's huge and it's ongoing. I would urge everyone to look at OneCoin, right, and how big a scam can get, essentially. I think it's Ruja Ignatova was the woman who masterminded it, and she may have had plastic surgery by now, but she's disappeared and off the map. The size of that scam was colossal, by the way. Yeah. The other one, which is now in kind of crypto meme law, is BitConnect, and look up Carlos Matos. There's some amazingly wonderful memes on YouTube. People have put videos. Carlos wasn't involved directly. He wasn't part of the scam. He was he made a lot of money out of it and ended up going to one of their conferences and really pumping the whole thing without knowing that it was a scam. But that's well worth looking at.
And how about you, Sam? Are there any other major coin scams that you remember? Because they are, to be honest, they're fun to hear about. As long as you haven't actually lost any money in it yourself, they're actually good fun.
Yeah, well, like Hussein said, the OneCoin's the one that sticks out. And I guess just as a whole, though, right, it's an industry, and trading just in itself is an industry where there's a few cowboys out there. And I think, you know, we're on Instagram here, but we've probably all been victims of people trying to copy our accounts and people or just messaging you. So I think there's loads of stories out there. Luckily, I don't know anyone personally that's ever sort of fallen victim to it. So there's definitely, you know, things to look out for. But yeah, the OneCoin one's the one that sort of sticks out. And listen, I'm sure over the next few years there'll still be others to come. But as we, you know, as the crypto industry becomes more widestream and more sort of institutionalized and adopted, hopefully, you know, that this sort of regulation that will come with it is going to put an end to them. But I'm sure there'll be a few more that we hear about.
Because the crypto market's come up just in the last week or so. It's doing, you know, fairly nicely at the moment. But I think for people who haven't even put their toe in yet, Do you think that there's quite a lot of possibility for growth? A lot of people have already made a lot of money. I mean, it's only been going for what, 14 years, 12, 14 years? And people have been coming in. I started investing in 2017, so I've seen some growth. But do you think there's still the possibility for growth if people have not done anything now, but they're just thinking, no, this year I'm going to actually buy some crypto?
Over the long term, absolutely. So again, going back to those numbers, when you look at the other asset classes in the hundreds of trillions, bonds, stocks, gold, precious metals, commodities, those funds will flow into crypto assets, just like they did in tech stocks in the 90s. So in the long term, the future is incredibly bright. And I think, I'm a big advocate of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin specifically as well. So the future looks really bright. Where you could get wrecked is if you get scammed, and there are giveaway scams. There are people pretending to be Elon Musk and will give you your Bitcoin back if you send it to their address. That was a big one a couple of years ago. There are rug pulls as well. People who just essentially you invest in a DeFi project and they just run away with the money. It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. So it's loaded with scams and it's volatile. So if you're investing in the long term, it's fantastic. In the short term, you better have a stomach for volatility.
Right. And Sam, what do you think for a newbie investor who's thinking, "Oh, shall I?" What would you suggest? How much of their money would you suggest they put in, and should they do it, as we were saying before, in a sort of regular pound cost averaging way? Do you think?
Yeah, I always say, if someone has got a lump sum to invest, I say, well, don't do it once. Let's just say it was, I don't know, even £500 or bucks. Do £100 a month instead, rather than one at a moment. I think that's definitely a better way to avoid that volatility and stop yourself getting in straight away. Diversify that as well if you can. In terms of, look, as always, the saying is never invest what you're or that you don't want to lose, just in case it doesn't work out. And I think that's the right thing to do. There's a question in the chat there. You can see, how long should one hold these coins for, right? And I think the long term is the play here. I think it's like, as you mentioned, it's 13, 14 years old, crypto as a whole, or Bitcoin. So this is incredibly early. Think long term, think 10 years, think 15, think 20, because in theory, as Hussein mentioned, it's still a small size of the gold market, right? It's still a small size of the stock market as a whole. If that continues to have the growth we've got, or even part of that, in theory, there's going to be some of these crypto assets that are going to still be a lot higher, and that growth is going to be there. So if you can invest, I think it's always a case of invest what you can afford to, and do it on a regular basis rather than just one lump sum.
And spread it, if you possibly can, spread it over Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then a few or all of the main sort of 10 or 15 altcoins. Yeah,
I mean, I'm more than happy to say what I'm personally invested in. So mine is more weighted for sure to Bitcoin and Ethereum. I've got sort of Avalanche, people might have heard of Solana, Polkadot, and then I've got in my opinion, I think the metaverse could be a decent play. So I've then done some research, which crypto-related assets would maybe have exposure to the metaverse, and that could be, Decentraland or the Sandbox, for example. And then obviously got some Ripple as well. And with that court case, I think that's once that situation becomes better, Hussein, I'm more sure more about it, but that's something where the potential's there for sure. Yeah. Of course, there's no guarantee it goes higher, but if things get better, then yeah. So I've got some exposure.
Excellent. What about you, Hussein? What have you got? Would you be willing to tell us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the bulk of my holdings are in Bitcoin, because I've been in Bitcoin since I learned about it at the end of 2009. So I've been in this space quite a long time.
Very Esther.
XRP is great. I like VeChain as well, because I look for coins with utility. Mm-hmm. So with XRP, it's cross-border payments. With VeChain, it's the provenance of supply chains. That's what the problem that it solves.
Yeah.
ADA is a good one as well. So Cardano, ADA, I think they're building out a good ecosystem there. I invest on utility, what I think is going to be useful in the future. Those are my kind of And the other pieces of advice are have investment targets, like with any kind of investment. But what is your exit? Think about how much you want from, let's say, a medium-term investment. What do you want to? At what point do you intend to exit? Mm-hmm. Take profits along the way. Like, don't just, unless you're prepared to, like, maybe have a treasury that you hold on to and you never touch. Open it up in 10 years. That's a great idea. If you really have to engage in trading, then follow the advice. Dollar cost average, buy low, sell high, take profits.
Nice. That sounds like really good advice. Well, thank you so much from both of you. Sam North from eToro, Hussein Badakchani from, now Noah.com. It's been really good talking to you. And if you, anybody who's watching, if you've got more questions, feel free to message me here on Instagram, Jasmine Birtles, or go to MoneyMagpie.com and send us an email. Have a look at the articles we've got on cryptocurrency, investing in cryptocurrency, and we've got some coming from eToro, actually, as it happens. It's been great to see you. Thank you so much. Oh, Mike, I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. Yeah, glad it was useful to you. So thank you so much, Sam and Hussein. Hope to have you on again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having us on.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks.